Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, I mentioned this is a weekly podcast, so I will ask now, how are you doing?
It is outstanding. I am outstanding. I am so much better than I was a day ago. Because a day ago, even on Tuesday morning, it was like, oh, John U. Bacon, who was pretty plugged in with the Michigan program, said, oh, like a 10-20% chance of the game happening. And then this afternoon, all of a sudden, it was like, oh, Michigan might be out on the practice field at some point. Maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday. And it was like, oh, they might play the Ohio State Michigan game this week. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, it was a nice, I don't want to say surprise. It was just some nice news to get that things were looking more and more like, at least the game has not been canceled yet. It's looking like the game is more possible than it was a day ago. Pete Thamel reporting that things are moving in the right direction, and Michigan beat us saying some of the same things. So that was very encouraging, and more than encouraging, it was like, I don't know, like a shot of vitamin C right through your veins, and you're like, yeah, yes, this might finally be happening, and we've already done one show this week because we're going through, I don't want to say going through the motions. We are going as though this game is happening until we were told not to. And then when you get some news like, hey, it looks like this thing may happen, then it's like you wait all year long for this. And we've had to wait longer than ever before. And so to be told that things are looking pretty good, Tom, I taken like a 15-minute chair nap, and then that news came, and it's like I woke up instantly.
I feel like just this is what Kerry Combs must feel like all the time. Like, wow, it's shot out of a cannon.
It's 3:00 on a Monday. Yeah.
This must be what that 5-hour energy extra power whatever feels like. Drink a couple of those, like, woo. Yeah, I mean, this is, you go back to this summer, and we were told there will be no Big Ten season. Canceled, decision will not be revisited. And it was like, man, that's a real bummer. And, you started getting to that bargaining phase where it's like, well, maybe they can start in January. Maybe they can do something in the spring. Maybe they can end. And then the season comes back, and it was like, oh, they're actually going to play football this year. And it hasn't been perfect, and it hasn't been exactly what you'd want. And there's been a whole bunch of stuff that, a bunch of decisions that probably could have been made using better process and yielding better results. But still, there has been a football season. There has been a reasonable facsimile of an Ohio State football season this year. And if they get to play Michigan, like, yeah, that's it. I mean, go back and listen to some of our shows in July, August. Like, if Ohio State plays Michigan, that's it. That's all I was looking for. Like, whatever else is fine. If there's an Ohio State Michigan game, like, all right, that's an Ohio State football season. I'll take it. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, we could be like 5 days away from an actual Ohio State Michigan game. That's, in a normal year, you would take that for granted. This year, you don't take anything for granted. It's like, oh, what a pleasant surprise that would be if one of the biggest traditions in the school actually happened this year.
Yeah, especially since we've been talking or thinking about the possibility of it not happening for weeks on end, even as the season is going on. So before we dive into just previewing this game, because we'll do that in the coming days. So, Tom, I wanted to just throw out some over-unders at you. I like to do that from time to time. And that's basically what this show is going to be. And through me tossing these numbers out to you, we'll be able to talk about the game, and we'll flesh some things out. And you have not seen any of these ahead of time. There's nothing tricky here, Tom. So that's why I want the initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, it would have taken more foresight and planning on my part to come out with something tricky. And you know how I don't really do a lot of planning or foreseeing. So feel safe, feel relaxed, and we're just going to talk a little bit about what to expect on Saturday, because the game, as far as we are concerned, is happening. So I want to start with Justin Fields with some over-unders here. Passing yards, Tom. Knowing that right now the weather, 49 degrees, 60% chance of rain, wind 10 to 20 miles per hour, surely will not change. So Passing yards, 332 and a half. Are you going over or under that?
332 and a half. The weather is in some ways better than you would have reason to expect, and in some ways worse than you would have reason to expect. It is warmer. It's probably 15 to 20 degrees warmer than you would have any realistic reason to expect in a mid-December game. That's a little wind. I mean, and the 60% chance of rain suggests to me probably not a driving rain throughout the day, but maybe more of it's raining a little bit. It's a little sprinkling and
Indiana game, like
yeah, where if I'm down in the stand shooting photos, then I probably have to put something over the camera. But if you don't, you're probably not ruining it. Like it's not the Illinois 2017 rain, probably, if it's a 60% chance. So I will say over that number. I mean, there's so much, let's just get this out of the way first. Last week, we had a pretty good idea who was going to be out for Ohio State. Even though we weren't reporting it, we had a pretty good idea who was going to be out for Ohio State. Right now, we will probably figure some of it out on the Michigan side before the game. Right now, I have not heard specific names linked to Michigan as far as who's going to be out. Now, I don't know that there's anyone in that defensive backfield that would make me if this person's playing, I would go, oh, if he's playing, it's under. But you could, if you don't have great A and plan A options, if you're down to your plan B option somewhere in that defensive backfield, like that's extremely bad. So I will say, I don't want to spoil anything. I'm probably going over on an awful lot of Ohio State offense numbers today. So I hope you set them high.
Well, and that's the difficulty here, because there are going to, I'm looking at this and like, you could reasonably go over on all of these, but that's just the danger you play, Tom, when you're trying to set over-unders with the Ohio State offense against the Michigan defense, and maybe you don't go high enough. And I did this before I saw the weather, so I maybe under for Justin Fields on the passing yards, but only if they want to, and that's the other factor that comes in. It's like, well, they've got 42 points in the third. Do you really need a fourth quarter? And of course, Ryan Day's like, yes, we need a fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they would love to get back up some playing time, but they probably also want to put some exclamation points on the final score. I'm sure they want to cover the spread, which helps a little bit with the narrative surrounding the game. And there have been suggestions made that Ryan Day may have a certain target number of points in mind. And if he does have a certain number of target points in mind, then that may keep Justin Fields in the game a little bit longer. Again, like you got to balance that with keeping Justin Fields healthy. If Justin Fields gets hit and goes down in the fourth quarter of a game, you're winning 48-10. Like that's not going to be a decision you're happy with in retrospect. So I do wonder how long Justin Fields will stay in the game, but if he's in the game into the fourth quarter, I'm going to say over on that passing number.
Yeah, and I think they're to the point where they're beyond the point of let's get young guys some experience because we may need them down the road. Because at this point, if you lose Justin Fields, you're done anyway. Like, yeah, oh gosh, we didn't get C.J. Stroud enough time. It's like, well, now is not the time to get him time because one quarter against Michigan isn't going to prepare him for Clemson or Alabama. And so there will be that. Rushing yards, Tom, Justin Fields, 47.5. It could go over that with one carry, but will they need to run him? No. Will they want to run him? Yeah, it's fun. It is fun to run him. So 47.5. Where are you?
I'm going to take the under. Now, I mean, I'm wondering if you looked at the season stats when you set this. Did you look at the season?
Nope.
Okay. I'm going to give you Justin Fields' average rushing yards per game. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
47.8. So you were way off.
Wow.
Embarrassing. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Chief.
I should watch football.
So 47.8. And I mean, I don't think he's getting hit a lot. I don't think you're losing a lot of yards to sacks. So yeah, I mean, maybe you rip off one long one, but Does
he need to scramble?
The scenario there is that the receivers are all covered. Is that or that Michigan is getting extremely good pressure?
Yes.
Which of those are you banking on there for him having to scramble a lot? Yeah.
Pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think so. And I think they're probably going to, if they need him, they'll run him. I don't think this is a game where they would need him. So I think they will probably not have him run a whole lot.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just the one or two runs is all it would take for that. And that's why I might stay away from that one. So total touchdowns accounted for. Justin Fields, 4.5.
Over.
5.5.
That's where I thought you were going. And it was like, I'm probably going over that. But
really?
Yeah, I mean, you get one in the running game.
Yep.
You pull the ball on a zone read or something at the 5 and you get one there. And then
5 passing touchdowns in a driving rainstorm.
I think we have established that it's not going to be a driving rainstorm. I believe that's what we landed on. Yeah, I mean, the over under of 4.5, I'm taking the over and not even having to really think about it very much, because I think there's a decent chance if they keep him, I don't think they're pulling him at 35 to whatever
right
halftime. So you're getting into the 40s, you're getting maybe into the 50s before you pull him. Because last year he played the whole game, right? Outside of when he went down with the injury. That was, and that was 56-27. And Ohio State was in a style points thing at that point, but in more of a style points thing now, where that was, 1 seed versus 2 seed kind of style points. This is 4 seed versus 5 seed kind of style points where they, will probably need it a little bit more. So I'm going to probably take the over on that.
Yeah. 4.5 is an easy over. 5.5 is where things get iffy. And I don't know that many people would go. I don't know that the half would go over 5.5, but more than half would go over 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you set the line at 5 and figure out what people want to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you set the line at 5, I'd probably take a push at that point. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going under 5, but yeah, 4.5 seems low. 5.5 seems like high-ish, but I think there's a better chance he's over 5.5 than under 4.5.
Right. More likely 6 than 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So here's the next one, Tom. Total offense from any of the freshman quarterbacks. This seems high to me. And I say that as if this is the first time I'm seeing it.
As the person who set the line.
57.5 yards.
Under. I think. Under. I think they keep him in there a decent chunk of the game. And once you get the freshman quarterback in there, if at that point, I haven't even started thinking about a score prediction, but let's say they get to 50. Let's say they get to we'll just use the number from last year's. Let's say it's 56 to something. If you're bringing the freshman quarterback in the fourth quarter with the score of 56 to something, and there's 8 minutes left, you're probably in get the heck out of there mode at that point. Like keep guys healthy. Don't mess with your depth. Just, run Mayan Williams into the line a bunch of times and get out of there, or Steel Chambers or whoever it is. So I'm going to say probably under, because I don't think you're throwing the ball a lot at that point. And I mean, I guess we've seen both of them have rip off long runs already in extremely limited time. But I mean, that's a lot of yards to be running for.
In one, like you said, it probably like 8 minutes is a good guess, where you get 2 possessions and you're just trying to run out the clock. But it takes one keeper for Jack Miller to go 75 yards against this Michigan defense. So now we're going to move to the running game, Tom. Trey Sermon, big week last week, seems to be trending in the right direction. Rushing total, 69.5 yards.
Nicely over. And once again, I'm going to ask: did you look at the season rushing average?
No, I did not.
His season rushing average is 68.8 yards per game. You are dialed in. This is an impressive performance by not doing your homework. This is
that's the story of my life, man.
Yeah. I wish I was recording my podcast today in a different order, because I'm talking to Ross Fulton for the Morning Scoop for Tuesday morning. And one of the questions I want to ask him, this was not something he wrote in his article, but sometimes I just ask him questions because I'm like, I wonder what the answer to this is.
Why don't you ever do that with me?
I don't have time to explain, Chief. It's one of the things they did on Saturday was it was a lot of kind of like north-south running. There wasn't a lot of sideline to sideline, outside run, stretch play kind of things. It was a lot of kind of north-south running, which is a Master Teague game. So why was Master Teague not the guy who had the big game? But, you don't think of Trey Sermon as the guy who busts the inside runs for long carries. You think him as they, get outside and make guys miss in space. But you think back and it was like, yeah, he went between the tackles and had some long runs there. So why did that happen? So I will feel like a lot more confident answering this question after I talk to Ross, and then you can listen to the Morning Scoop on Tuesday morning and find out with me. I'll actually probably have that up Monday night, so you can listen to that Monday night if you'd like. I usually post those 8 or 9 at night the night before. But yeah, I think I'll take the over there. I mean, I don't, I feel like coming off that performance, he's probably going to get 10, 12 carries. And so, you bust one and then you average 4 or 5 on the others and you're there.
How many times has he been over 69 yards this season as I'm looking at it now? Just once, just last week.
Yeah.
So
one in a row.
So he's gone 48, 56, 68, 60, and then 112. So you're going over 69 and a half. That brings me to Master Teague, not knowing where he is, but who knows? Maybe I'm close now. 85.5 yards rushing. Over under.
And I'm scrolling back up to see.
I think he's over that on the season.
85.2. Come on.
Oh, geez.
Come on.
Honestly, I did not look. It's his turn to go for 100, right?
It is his turn. Yeah, I mean, his rushing performances have been 41, 110, 60, 169, and 46. So he's averaged right about there, but he has not gotten there with consistently being there. He has not been anywhere around there. He's either been way under or way over. So I mean, if I'm assuming that Ohio State's going to be aggressive in the air, then I guess they're not going to run the ball a ton. So, does he get 10 carries, something like that? 12 carries? I don't know if he's averaging 8 yards a carry on 10, 12 carries. So
when was the last time an Ohio State running back led the team with 12 carries in a Michigan game though?
Well, I mean, they don't have a bell cow running back this year. Sure. I think there's a decent possibility that there are 3 guys with, if you include Fields, I mean, maybe 4 guys with 8 carries, but you might not have anyone who has 15. This is not J.K. Dobbins who's going to get 25, 30 carries. They don't have that back this year. So I mean,
Michigan, he had 12 in 2018, J.K. Dobbins, and I was wondering if
he had 12 carries against Michigan last year.
No, in 2018.
18. Okay,
and then Weber had 13. So that's the answer there, Fishbulb.
Wow. Even now, look, now I'm pulling stuff out of my, where, and pretty much dead on. Wow. Look, every once in a while, I feel like maybe we know what we're talking about. What a strange feeling this is.
So are you going over or under?
I'm going under. I'll take under on that. I've got to go under on something. I'll go under on that.
Who do you think has more rushing yards, Sermon or Teague?
I guess I'll go with Sermon because I think there's a decent chance he busts a long one. And, if Teague busts a long one, it's 30 yards. If Sermon busts a long one, it could go 80 yards. So I think I'll go with Teague just based on that.
Well, Teague would go 80 yards.
I'm sorry, Sermon. Good. Yes.
Teague would go 80 yards if Justin Fields was fast enough to catch him like he is fast enough to catch Trey Sermon, sir.
That's true. That is true. We know Trey Sermon's not the fastest guy on the team now.
Yeah, for sure. So here's Mayan Williams, Tom. Rushing yards, 19.5.
Over.
24.5.
Over.
Wow.
He feels like 7 carries for, 6-7 carries for 32 yards, kind of, somewhere in that neighborhood where, if he's coming at the same point as CJ Stroud or Jack Miller with 8 minutes left in the game, you're probably getting 2 drives. You're getting a couple carries on the first set of downs. You maybe pick up a first down, you get another couple carries, and then you get another couple on the next drive. Like 6 carries, something like that. That seems about right.
So I bumped this next number up, which is the total rushing yards for Ohio State. I had it like at 229, and I would even, as soon as I hit 220, I know you're going over. So I bumped it up to 252.5.
How many passing yards did I give Justin Fields? 350.
So you're talking like 500. But also last show I said 600 yards, and you said over. So
yeah, I do. I'm looking at 600 yards. Yeah, I mean, 250 seems about right
with those last 8 minutes running the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think they get there because I don't think they're going to have 200 yards rushing at halftime. I think you're gonna get there in the second half. I think there's a decent possibility they look at that Michigan secondary and tent their fingers like Mr. Burns, just excellent, and just bombs away for a while in that first half. Now Michigan may just back way up. A lot of this depends on who's out for Michigan. If Michigan's missing a couple of their defensive linemen out of an already thin group, or they're missing a couple linebackers of an already thin group, maybe they're just running the ball and just absolutely wailing on them all game. But I think the pass is the where they will try and make their money in the first half. So, but yeah, I'll take the over on, what was it, 255, something like that.
252.5. You're going
252.5. Yeah, I'll take the over. Not by a lot. Not with a lot of. Okay, do you know what their average rushing yards per game is this year?
No.
There's no way you're getting this close without cheating. You absolutely are cheating.
I cheated last week at trivia. I have not cheated since.
251 yards per game. Come on.
I'm also guessing this 252.5 yards is not far off what they've done against Michigan this century.
Mm-hmm. That's probably pretty close. I wrote about that on Monday. One of my favorite recurring Michigan Week columns or articles, which is the team that runs the ball for more yards per carry every single year wins the Ohio State-Michigan game. This is not one of these things that's biased by the game state where you're saying, oh, well, of course, the team that has the lead is going to run the ball more. It's not total yards. It is yards per carry, which is a pretty good proxy for which team is controlling the line of scrimmage. And I think Ohio State has a very good chance of controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball on Saturday. So, I think they will have a big advantage there in yards per carry. And, what they are averaging 5.5 yards per rush on the season. And that sounds about right for Saturday, right? Maybe a little, maybe skew that a little bit with a big one at some point, but
I also think that maybe it gets back down. It shrinks a little closer towards that in the fourth quarter when they know the run is coming, and so you're pounding out 3 and 4 yards rather than 7 and 8.
Yeah, although again, let's throw that caveat out there. Who's out there for Michigan in the fourth quarter of this game?
Well, there's also that. I mean, we were both impressed. We liked what we saw from Mayan Williams last week, and there's a good chance that maybe he takes it from 252 to 302 in this game against whoever is out there for Michigan's defense.
One other thing that might skew some of these numbers is how long of a field is Ohio State working with on some of these drives? If Michigan, there are reports that Michigan might be missing both of their top 2 quarterbacks, Cade McNamara and Joe Milton. If they are, then you've got a true freshman, Dan Villari, in there, who I don't anticipate Michigan being able to drive the ball real methodically with a true freshman first-time starter in there on the road at Ohio State. And I don't think the Hassan Haskins Wildcat quarterback thing is going to work super effectively throughout the course of the game. Again, I think we talked about this on Monday's show or Sunday night show, that might work. You might pick up a drive at some point where that goes somewhere, and maybe Villari hits a pass or two and starts moving the ball a little bit. But that's like 2 drives. So the other, 10, 12, 14 drives that Michigan has, like, how many of them are ending up with a turnover deep in their own end? How many of them are ending up 3 and out where they're punting the ball and Ohio State's getting the ball at midfield? That could kind of hold down some of these total offense numbers in a way that, it might look real impressive on the scoreboard and some of the total yardage numbers are not as high just because you don't have the opportunity to drive 75, 80 yards every time you get the ball.
It's just like yards per point is very high type of game.
Yeah, points per yard. Yeah,
points per yard. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't do the analytics, Tom. I've told you that before. Don't bring it up on this show. I don't care for it. Let's go to the passing game, Tom. Garrett Wilson. Now let me finish before you say over.
Over.
117 and a half yards receiving.
Over.
Yeah. My only concern for him is he's got the best defensive back on him, but there's still going to be ways to get him the ball. And it's not like Dax Hill is as good as Garrett Wilson, like he's not going to be able to shut him down. I don't know that anybody can. Michigan State did a really good job of containing him last week, but they allowed Chris Olave to go off. And so, Tom, Chris Olave, 119 and a half yards.
I don't know. If you allow me to include the pass interference yards that will be accrued.
No, that's a good point, though. No, nice try, though.
Yeah, if you let me include the pass interference yards,
200 yards.
Yeah, yeah, at least 150. Yeah,
we'll do that. You go this, and then I'll add in some pass interference yards. I'll create a new number on the fly for you.
I'm gonna go under on that, but not by a lot. I think there's a decent chance both of those guys hit 100 yards. I mean, Chris Olave has been known to make a play or two against Michigan in his career, so there's a decent possibility he hits that. But I've got to go under on some of these things, so I'll go under on that.
Yeah, I like your thinking on that because they are. I'm sure that's obviously Michigan corners are taught and coached to grab and to hold. In the past, they've been able to get away with it. Now they are no longer able to, but I still think Don Brown and whoever else is telling them, yes, grab and hold, because 15 yards is a whole lot better than 62 or 85 or 16 even, Tom. That's 15 is one less than 16. So right now thinking, okay, because there's going to be at least over under on pass interferences on the defenders of Chris Olave is 2.5.
I'll take the under, but maybe take the over if you include defensive holding.
Because I couldn't go 1.5 because it's going to automatically be over that. So okay, yeah. Holding and pass interference 2.5. That I think that happens 3 times.
I think 3 times feels about right there. Yeah, a couple pass interferences and a holding call. Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah, and then it's total yardage of receiving yards for Chris Olave plus interference yards. So there's going to be like a 37 and a 39. So that's 187.5 yards.
Oh, under that. I mean, you're only getting 15 yards a pop.
No. I'm saying from where the interference occurred.
Oh, from where the interference occurred?
Yes, Tom.
Oh, well, this is one of these things I'm not going to have to put a lot of thought into because there's no way you're going back and actually checking any of this. So I'll just say over, and that's fine.
You're very
welcome to the smart. Accountability Free Weekly podcast.
Yeah, and so that's a good call. Total touchdowns for Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, 2.5.
Over.
If I go 3.5, you're gonna. That's the tougher one. 2.5 is like.
Yeah,
I mean, go under 2.5, right?
Yeah, I mean, you feel like Olave is good for 2 every year against Michigan, and then Wilson's going to get 1, and ta-da, you're over 2.5.
Right. Yeah. So now we turn to the Michigan offense.
Under.
If we could call it that. Rushing yards for the Michigan Wolverines, 86.5.
I think, well, you're going to get some sacks, and that's I think with the are we sack adjusting this? Because if we're not,
this is total rushing yards, including sacks.
Under, I think. I mean, again, like we're going on the presumption that Joe Milton is not playing, Cade McNamara is not playing. You get a true freshman quarterback in there who's going to be indecisive, maybe a little panicky. I mean, you're going to get some sacks. Their offensive line has not been great. Ohio State's defense has been pretty fantastic in terms of the pass rush. I think the sack number is going to get you not 40 yards off whatever the rushing total actually is.
Are you factoring in the random 40-yard rush from somebody that happens, most years in this game against Ohio State?
The one random Blake Corum rush for in the third quarter for 35 yards.
There goes Villari.
Yeah,
he's at the 40, at the 30.
He's running the wrong way. They're in their territory.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I think you can give them the one long run, and it's going to get canceled out by all the sack yardage probably. So, and it might be more than canceled out by the sack yardage. So then it's like, okay, how many yards is Hassan Haskins going to run for? And
we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
If I say 60 yards,
rushing
60 and a half, yeah. Total.
It's got to be over to that. I mean, this is not going to be Georgia Tech Cumberland. Like they have to move the ball somehow, and I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball through the air. So they have to be able to run the ball a little bit. I mean, this Ohio State defense has been really good, but I mean, at some point you're going to lose focus and you're going to give up. You're going to give up some yardage. And I do think there will be one drive at some point where Michigan pulls something out of their bag and surprises Ohio State and ends up with 50 yards rushing on a drive. So now, I'll go over 60.
Let's remember Michigan rushed for 13 yards against Indiana. Not one carry in total.
Is that good? I don't know. I don't watch a lot of football.
It's worse than the next week where they went for 47 yards against Wisconsin. So, and that was when they had Joe Milton. But
I have to pick a few Michigan overs and I have to pick a few Ohio State unders. I feel like we're setting ourselves up for the ultimate freezing cold takes podcast award. Like
the thing about those two games is Michigan, they've forgotten they had Hassan Haskins because he had 6 carries against Indiana and 1 against Wisconsin. And in the 2 games since, he's had 40 and rushed for 212 yards.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll get over. I think they'll get over 60 for sure. And there's a possibility Hassan Haskins runs it 25 times for 110 yards or something. Like
and they're below 86 and a half.
Yeah, but they're still below 86 and a half. Yeah. Yep.
So this one I just threw in Michigan passing yards with Joe Milton playing, knowing that he has been able to throw for a lot of yards here and there, and they probably won't be able to run, and they will try to throw it, and they will be behind. All of these factors, Tom, has set the line here, the over-under, at 237 and a half for Joe Milton.
237 and a half yards passing for Joe Milton?
Yes, if he plays the entire game, because they will have to throw a lot, and they will throw downfield, and they'll connect, here and there.
I feel like this is a trap. Is this a trap?
Can I read you here?
Can I read you his last 3 games that he's played?
I will read you Ohio State's pass defense, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call him the poor man's Rocky Lombardi, but if he's hurt, if he's hurt, which all indications are he is, 9 of 19 for 98 yards against Wisconsin, 5 of 12 for 89 yards against Rutgers, 1 of 3 for 21 yards against Penn State. Like, none of those are super fantastic, incredible defenses. Wisconsin's fine. Wisconsin's good, but they're not incredible. I don't think there's a chance they get to 237 yards passing.
Yeah, now with an injured Joe Milton, that would be like the 2007 Chad Henne, where there's just no there. But I wanted to throw him in there just so we weren't ignoring the fact that I guess he could play, which brings us to the reality of Michigan passing yards with Dan Villari over under 86 and a half.
They have to go over that, don't they? I mean,
we have no idea what this guy.
Right. Well, that's the thing. We literally have not seen this guy play. I don't think he's taken a snap this year, and he didn't have spring ball. And I mean, you can cram all you want, but I mean, they have very clearly not been giving him a lot of reps in practice because they have 2 guys who they've been playing. Those 2 guys are getting all the reps in practice. So, this could be one of those games where he finishes 5 for 24, but hits one that, one crosser that goes for 35 or 40 yards. And, I might take the under on 100 passing yards, but, I might take the under on completion percentage of 30. What are they going to do? What's the game plan here? Is it just going to be screens and swing passes and get the ball out of his hand quick and just, he might, if they do that, he might hit 50% completion percentage, but average, 2 yards per attempt. I mean, that's like that.
It's very Nick Sheridan. Like, what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah. There is not a winning answer here for Michigan is the problem. And, this is an extremely unfair position to put him in. And this, I don't want to, be making light of him and the situation he's in. Like he's someone who got we explained this on the show on Sunday, but he was a last minute addition to their class of 2020 because their initial quarterback commit had a heart issue and had to medically retire. So they flipped a guy from Fordham, which is rather notably not a Big Ten program. So, he's someone who is like the most break glass in case of emergency quarterback starter I can remember, outside of teams who literally ran out of quarterbacks and they had to throw in someone like, I don't know who the Ohio State equivalent of this is, because it's not any of the scholarship guys.
Ed Ginn in 2004. Yeah,
I mean in the Alamo Bowl. I mean, but I mean Ted Ginn had some playmaking ability. Like, I mean, it's similar to Maryland having to put in linebackers as quarterbacks. I think Indiana did that one year as well, or their eventual quarterback moved to linebacker. But just random guys. Have you thrown the ball in high school? Yes, I have. Well, now you are a quarterback, just like they might be doing with Michael Barrett, who is their starting Viper linebacker. And it's a bad situation. But you mentioned maybe some big plays through the air to get up over 100 or around 100. That's why receptions of 30 plus yards under
1.5 under. You're just going with the one,
I think,
or the none.
They hit one at some point. Maybe, you hit something exactly right, or someone misses a tackle. Like, you get one, or you get one late in the game when everyone's kind of dialed it back. But I mean, how many did they give up against Michigan State? One, I think.
Maybe. Yeah. The one.
I think just
the 55-yarder.
I think they had the one pass play and the one run play, and that was it. And like, I mean, I mean, focus was not an issue for Ohio State last week. Like this is one of these things where you see Ohio State kind of fart around against some teams sometimes, and you see in the game, the score ends up not reflective of the talent differential on the field. And it's like, that was, it was a little disappointing when Ohio State kind of has its back up against the wall, and it doesn't happen all that often. But when Ohio State has its back up against the wall against a team with inferior talent, like that's when it's like you get the whoa kind of game. I mean, that was the Michigan State game in 2017, the week after the Iowa loss, where they come out, they've gotten humiliated, they come out against Michigan State and win 48-3. You've seen that, Michigan is never a team that Ohio State overlooks. So this is a team that Ohio State is going to be extremely focused, extremely motivated to, finish the drill, finish the play to the whistle. I can't see them getting in the spot where they got against like Indiana, where they got up big and then it was kind of like, okay, and now the game's over, and and then you sort of let off the gas a little bit.
Especially when you see so many times in this series of late where Ohio State is putting on another touchdown or two down the stretch, and they could have added even more, but would take knees. But it's not like they give up and just run the clock out in the fourth. They're okay with throwing a couple more on there. The last one I have before we turn to some from Twitter is Hassan Haskins rushing yards, 62.5.
Over.
How much?
I'll take the over on that. I mean, I think he's someone who he'll get some rushes as the running back. He'll probably get some rushes as the quarterback. I don't know that he'll be super effective, but I think they're going to lean on him pretty heavily. I mean,
he is their best player right now.
Yeah, so. Zach Charbonnet has just kind of fallen out of favor for some reason, it seems like, or he's kind of secretly hurt. I don't know which one it is, but he's kind of he's just not in the game plan really much anymore for some reason. And so they have to lean on Haskins because, I mean, they're not dumb. They know what a true freshman quarterback on the road. They're not that dumb. They know what a true freshman quarterback on the road in his first start. I mean,
so does Ohio State.
Yeah. So you think this is just an air it out? You know, I know that you know that I know that you know. So therefore, boom,
it's a Villari game. Yeah.
Welcome to the Villari show. Yes, I don't think that's going to be how it plays out. That's just my uninformed guess. But I think they're going to have to. I mean, you have to do something with the ball when you get it. And Hassan Haskins running it as much as he can. That seems like about as winning a possibility as they have. I'm going to look up Brandon Miner's stats from the 2008 Ohio State Michigan game and see what that looks like, because I think that's the best comparison that I can come up with.
Yeah, and there is that, you know, random 27-yard run or something in there that you keep pounding it away enough, and then you kind of just something happens, and you, like you said, you miss a tackle. What do you got on Brandon Miner?
Well, I managed to pull up the 2008 Ohio State Michigan State box score, which is not particularly helpful for this particular exercise.
Tell us how Brandon Sane did in that game, Tom. While we're looking for Brandon's.
No, I've backed out of this.
Damn it, Tom!
I'm really struggling. The struggle.
Fine, I'll look for the Brandon Sane information, and you look for the Brandon Miner.
Brandon Miner, 14 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown. And I mean, Michael Shaw had 12 carries for 41 yards in that game, and Nick Sheridan 8 for 24 for 87 yards. I mean, this is
wow.
Like
I Sheridan Villari 87 yards. I had him 86 and a half.
I know that you know everyone is like, is he Rain Man or is he cheating? No, believe me, he's definitely cheated here. No question. Not even a question. Yeah, no, I mean, you look at those numbers, and that's about where this ends up. Michigan, that game, 11 first downs, 41 rushes, 111 yards, 8 of 25 for 87 yards, and 198 total yards. I mean, and that's like this Ohio State offense is explosive enough that they're going to, I mean, the points are going to add up a little quicker on their side of the ball. I mean, that game ended up 42-7, and that was very much a Ohio State could name their score kind of game, but it was only 14-7 at half. I had forgotten that was Ohio State was up 14-zip.
Pryor started that game with an interception, right?
Yeah. 2 minutes into the second quarter, Beanie Wells had a 59-yard touchdown run. Brian Hartline had a 53-yard touchdown pass. And then Brandon Miner scored a touchdown right before half, and it was 14-7 at the half. And then Ohio State just kind of hit the gas and went in the second half. But yeah, that if you're looking for what this game could look like, it is a version of that with a better Ohio State offense.
Yeah, I would agree. The 25 passes or whatever, is that what Sheridan threw?
This says 8 of 24, but it has 8 of 25 in the team stats. So I don't know what the other pass was.
A throwaway or a spike, maybe. I don't know.
Spike, maybe. Yeah.
But that's probably about where I would put Villari in terms of pass attempts. Like he would throw more if he completed more, but I don't expect a whole bunch of completions or a bunch of first downs. So if I set that at 24 and a half pass attempts for Dan Villari, where are you? It has to be over, right? I don't know.
I think under. I think they have to. I can't see them looking at that and going, "This is our best path to a win."
Yeah.
Like you just. I mean, and oh man, I'm looking at that box score now. It's like, how did Ohio State only score 42 points? Let me tell you. Gather around as I read you the line of a true freshman, Terrell Pryor, 5 for 13, 120 yards. 9.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And that's when I say Ohio State may score more than they did in that game. Consider the upgrade from a true freshman Terrell Pryor to a junior year Justin Fields.
Yeah, Fields is a little faster. Otherwise, they're pretty much the same player from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you look at Terrell Pryor,
a lot of 5 for 13s for Justin Fields.
What I was going to say is if you add Terrell Pryor's completion percentage from one game to the next, they equal a Justin Fields regular game. So I think that means Terrell Pryor is twice the player Justin Fields is, if I'm doing math correctly.
Boy, the rushing totals from that game. Beanie Wells, 15 for 134 and a touchdown, averaging 8.9. Boom Herron, 8 for 80 for 10 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns. And then you get into the Terrell Pryor, 8 for -7. Maurice Wells, one of the more Maurice Wells lines you'll see, 6 carries, 8 yards, 1.3 per carry, and no touchdowns. 1 reception, 0 yards. 7 touches, 8 total yards.
Maurice Wells is a very loyal listener to the show, and so we're not going to say anything bad about him. But
Brandon Sane, 3 for 3. As you asked earlier, Brandon Sane, 3 carries, 3 yards.
How does Pryor? You say he rushed for what, -1 or something?
8 rushes, -7 yards. So I'm going to assume they had 3 sacks. So I'm going to guess there were 3 sacks that took yardage off of his number there.
Yeah, and sometimes he would take some bad long sacks as well. Maybe there's a bad snap in there, but Mike Brewster probably was. Who knows? So, Tom, that was all of mine. Let me get to some listener ones here that were on Twitter that you probably have seen.
I made a point to not cheat.
Okay.
Unlike others on this podcast, I made a point to not cheat and look ahead.
I did not cheat. I got lucky with some guesses, honest. Does Hassan Haskins take more snaps at QB or running back on Saturday, Tom? The answer is running back.
The answer is running back. Yeah. I think.
Although, well, I guess the question is, does he maybe, because that's the way it's asked, but does he carry more from running back or quarterback would probably be the more accurate question.
I'm going to answer the question that was asked because I respect it, because I respect our listeners and also want to take the easier question. And the answer is he runs more takes more snaps at running back.
Okay. Good call, Tom. Unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. Doesn't say which team, or maybe it's both. 1.5 over under.
I think under.
You're going under. I'm going to go over just because offsetting. Like it just takes one offsetting penalty.
Oh, yeah. Well, then, and that if we're counting offsetting, then yes. I was thinking penalties marked off. But if it's just if offsetting counts as 2, then yes, I'll take the over.
You're darn right. Offsetting counts as 2, as long as I'm putting money on it. Oh, okay. Here we go. Over under 0.5 snaps from both teams.
Over under 0. Oh,
yes. I don't even want to entertain it, but Tom, you did say we should be nice to the listeners.
The listeners should not fill my soul with darkness. That's I will continue to be the eternal optimist and say over. I don't know that I necessarily would have said that 24 hours ago, right. But I think I feel I would have put the odds of this game happening under 50-50 on Monday morning, and I put them, over 50-50 in the 60-40, 70-30 maybe range. Right now.
Here is a prop bet that I like. It's not over under, but I like it, and I'm not sure which way I would go. Who has more total yards? Michigan or Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson?
Together?
Yes.
Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson.
Because you're figuring what, like 250? With a Garrett Wilson run as well?
Yeah, I think 250 is a decent number. One of them gets 130, one of them gets 100 and some change, and you get one end around for 20 yards, and you're 250. And we just said under 86 for rushing and under 100 probably for passing. So I don't think that's I don't think that one's even close.
Wow. All right, Tom, going bold there. Harbaugh's hands on knees position over under 23.5. For me, I would go under because he might just stay there for a long time.
Is this camera shots of Harbaugh hands on knees?
No, this is just the time she does it.
Well, this will be another accountability free one, so I'll say over.
Now, here's if they start doing like the head, shoulders, knees, and toes song like for randomly, then the numbers are going to go way up, and I will feel cheated on that one. So, no musically inclined influences for these prop bets, please. Well, here's one about the telecast, Tom. the number of times Jim Harbaugh is caught on the telecast complaining with arms spread out wide. The over-under on that is 12.
I'll take the under because I think he's reached the hello darkness, my old friend portion of the season where anger is no longer an emotion. He may get a little bit of you may feel like, oh man, that's going to hit the over in the first half or first quarter. But you get to if it's 49-10 in the third quarter, then you're past the point where you feel that the refs are screwing you. Like at that point, it's like, oh, fate has dealt me an unkind hand, and possibly a recruiting coordinator as well, but not the officials necessarily.
I also think as you are angry, your arms will go out wide. As you begin to succumb, your arms raise up. And then like in the fourth quarter, your arms aren't out wide angry at the refs. Your arms are up like, what the heck? And then eventually it forms the surrender cobra. And so it's just this, as your arms move up and then connect, that's the way it goes. That's just, and by now for Michigan, that's muscle memory.
That's what they all learn in their kinesiology classes.
There you go. All right, guys. Today we're going to learn about surrender cobra. Who here knows about the surrender cobra? And everybody raises their arms, and then it eventually goes into the surrender cobra. So here's one, Tom. Over under 3 sacks from the defensive end position on Saturday. I would probably go, if I am forced to go over or under on that. Picking the over on sacks never works out for me, especially these even numbers, these whole numbers. I would probably, if it's 2.5, I might go over, but would probably still lean under just because.
That's where I am. I think that they're going to, given the offensive line issues that they've had this year, given the strength of the Ohio State defensive line, given the fact that we don't, I mean, again, let's revisit the fact that we don't know who's actually out for Michigan. If there's a couple offensive linemen out for Michigan, they're already in their depth. They are already in, to the point where Ohio State was at Michigan State or worse in terms of their depth. So I can't imagine. I have to imagine the game plan is a lot of one read throws for Villari.
Yeah.
Get the ball out of his hands. Don't make him try and read a defense. Don't make him try to make decisions in the pocket with the rush bearing down on him. I think I'd take the under there. Ohio State will maybe go over that number total, but Tommy Togiai gets one, Haskell Garrett gets one of the linebackers gets one, whatever. So Ohio State total on the game, Ohio State total over. From the defensive end position, probably under.
Yeah, and like you said, especially if Tommy Togiai is getting all of the sacks in this one. Over under camera cuts, we don't get a number here, but over under camera cuts to Harbaugh on the sideline wearing his mask in a position that literally no other human on earth would choose. I will set that. How many times is it going to be shown on camera? Literally, I don't know, I don't even know what the number is just because it's so constant. Like 35.5.
Do you remember his first game when they played at Utah and the season opener in 2015, and Fox had the special channel, which was on whatever FS1 or whatever, True TV, whatever the Fox equivalent of True TV was, where it was just the khaki cam, and you just could just watch Jim Harbaugh walk around the sideline the whole game, because that was a thing. Like when you think back to the 19 pre-television era, and it's like, this is what people did for entertainment back then. That's how people should feel about the khaki cam from 2015. Wait, you wrapped your whole bus in khaki material to go to the game, and then you had just a shot of the coach just on the sideline the whole game? What? Did you not have the internet back then? Like, what? How did? Is this what you did for entertainment? What a strange time. It's like the Dark Ages. What bizarre.
It is bizarre.
He won't be on camera nearly that much, but you're going to see a bunch of them, because anytime they're going to talk about them, if the game gets out of hand. Here's a little TV production tip for you. The more lopsided the score, the more the announcers are talking about anything other than the game. So you're going to hear a whole bunch of college football playoff talk, and Ohio State and Texas A&M, and what does this mean? And let's preview the Clemson Notre Dame game, and
let's talk to Ian Book.
Yeah, Let's get Brady Quinn's sister to talk about Notre Dame. Yeah, you're gonna see Harbaugh, because I mean the anticipation is that there's going to be some kind of an announcement. John U. Bacon from Michigan, the writer, said there's anticipated going to be an announcement on Harbaugh sometime soon, which he interpreted as like maybe Tuesday. So we may have news on Harbaugh soon. Against all odds, it sounds like that's going to be an extension. So there's going to be some talk about that, and they may have a graphic ready about John Cooper getting an extension right before the 1991 Michigan game. I mean, you're gonna hear a bunch about that, and the more and the future of the Michigan program, and what does he do? Is he going to keep his assistant coaches? Does he have to make a choice? Does he have to make some changes? And you'll have a bunch of that. So he's gonna be on camera a bunch while they're talking about that in the second half.
Now, our understanding is that family members will be able to be in the stands for the game. I am wondering if any of these parents will have the annual the coaching banner, like, because I need to get in touch with the people who make that, because I have been before and see like, is there going to be any, like how the Washington State flag is passed from town to town on game day? Can they pass this to some family members, and would it unroll like congratulations on your 3-year extension, glad you're going to stick around, something like that. Congratulations, Coach Harbaugh, on your extension. I think that would be a very classy gesture.
Well, I think last year's, I would have to go through my pictures from the end of last year's game, but I believe last year's banner said Coach Harbaugh forever or something along those lines, which you could pretty much repurpose that one this week. And if they extend him, that'll be right on the nose.
Now, Tom, I don't want to keep you much longer, because I know we can't make Ross wait, as he is, I think he's sitting in the queue right now to talk to you in the Zoom. Plus minus times, I guess that's over under, or plus minus. The number of times Desmond throws shade at Ohio State on game day time, I will set that at 2.5. And the most disappointing thing for Desmond is there is no way he can pick Michigan this time. He picks them every year. There is no way, Tom, that he can go, you know what? I'm feeling good about these guys. I think they've got what it takes. Ohio State is feeling themselves. They're not as good as people think. They have a suspect defense. I look at Dan Villari. People don't know about him, but I think Michigan gets it done this week.
I think where his out there is, people will say, "Oh, it's too easy to pick the game. I will pick against the spread." And then, boom, Michigan plus 30. You could sell that. You squint hard enough, you could sell that.
Yeah. Hey, that's it. That's the last of the questions. That's good timing, Tom.
We have defeated the listeners again.
Yes. Thank you all for being so soft and unable to contend with us. Thank you for your submissions, as always. That'll do it for today's show. We'll have a show tomorrow. Tom, who is you haven't mentioned yet, who's on the show? Who's on Morning Scoop for you tomorrow?
I have. You, in fact, just mentioned it just a moment ago. Ross Fulton, our X's and O's guru, he will be on the show for Monday or Tuesday morning, and we'll talk about what Ohio State did in the run game against Michigan State to kind of minimize the changes that they had to make at the offensive line position, and be able to run the ball. What they did to get Justin Fields out there, and what they did in addition to playing Rocky Lombardi, what else they did to make the pass defense a whole lot better. I don't know if you saw this. Not only did the 3 first-time starters all grade out as champions on the offensive line, Marcus Hooker graded out as a champion at the safety spot on the defense. I mean, that's good for him, man. Like he is, we have heard all sorts of stuff about Marcus Hooker and Kerry Combs, really taking that Indiana game personally and taking that to heart. And that was that. I mean, again, you can Rocky Lombardi adjust that if you want to, but that was a really good performance, and good for him to solve that issue and step up in a game where they did not have Josh Proctor to replace him with. So that was probably encouraging for the defense. We'll talk to Ross all about what exactly they did to make that all work.
Yeah, and good for those offensive linemen as well. We talked about the possibility of that happening. Would they decrease the grading scale for them? I don't know that they did or not. Didn't have to, because they sure looked pretty good against Michigan State. So that'll do it for this show. Thank you all for listening. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow.